Hi everybody. So Tony and I were perusing, as our usual habits go, through archive.org, and we stumbled upon this page. Directed Energy Weapons Archive, Mind Control, New World Order, Illuminati Freemasons is the title. With all of these, this one, the first one I'm on is Directed Energy Weapons DEWs, called DEWs, D-E-W, a hierarchical artificial retina. Air Force supports research of materials for use in extreme environments. Army developing synthetic telepathy. Beyond the rubber bullet. Binaural beats. Brain control interface. Brain scan sees hidden thoughts. CPI technology. Cutting through television interference. Design and analysis of modern tracking. Devices that read human thoughts, now possible. Effects of electromagnetic weapons, electromagnetic spectrum, history of cochlear implants and auditory brainstem implants, homeland security electrical grid vulnerable to EMP attacks, imaging genomics, IOP radar, Israelis worry about their missiles, machine-brain connection. Let's look at this one. The Bionic Connection. Remember the Bionic Man? Yes, well, it wasn't just a TV show. Kevin Warwick is about to become telepathic, luck and technology permitting. His lips are parted expectantly as he sits blindfolded and perched on a lab stool at Reading University in England. 1 inch below his left wrist is a pincushion array of 100 silicone electrodes, all of them together about 1/16 the size of a dime, and has been surgically inserted into his median nerve. From the electrodes, 22 wires run 8 inches under the skin and exit 1 inch below his elbow. There they are soldered to a connector board where a 2 by 2 inch maze of circuitry amplifies, filters, and converts the electrochemical impulses coming down his median nerves into digital signals. Before that happens, Warwick says neural machine interfaces like the one in his arm will control robotic body parts, enabling the paralyzed to walk, the blind to see. Smart chips implanted directly into the brain, he says, will control Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, and even depression by monitoring and regulating errant nerve signals. Meanwhile, he says, embedded chips will replace keyboards. Remote controls will become as antiquated as rotary phones, and learning a foreign language will mean little more than buying the right chip. In the world Warwick envisions in his new book, I, Cyborg, the boundary between our nervous systems and computers will disappear, and self-improvement will become synonymous with upgrade. But not surprisingly, he has met with skepticism from some of his colleagues. I'd call him a charlatan, but since he seems to believe his ridiculous predictions, he's more of a buffoon, says Inman Harvey of nearby Sussex University's Cognitive and Computing Sciences Department. Cyborg is short for cybernetic organism, a phrase coined in the 60s by NASA scientists dreaming up different ways to keep people alive in space. I don't think people realize just how far along this has already come, says Warwick. In fact, almost everything Warwick is using in his experiments is off-the-shelf technology, and he points out that in the past 3 years, researchers from Duke University, Brown University, and Massachusetts have placed brain implants in monkeys, allowing them to move cursors on a computer screen, play video games, and move robotic limbs using thought alone. Here's one. Maximum pain is the aim of the new U.S. weapon. Now, I don't know who put these in here. It could be just a collection of scientists that are keeping them in a folder, or it could be a person who discovered them. You don't know who put these up here. The U.S. military is funding development of a weapon that delivers a bout of excruciating pain from up to 2 kilometers away. Intended for use against rioters, it is meant to leave victims unharmed. But pain researchers are furious that work aimed at controlling pain has been used to develop a weapon, and they fear that the technology will be used for torture. Oh, gee, imagine that. I am deeply concerned about the ethical aspects of this research, says Andrew Rice, a consultant in pain medicine at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital in London, UK. Seems like these are all based in London, in England. The lovely British who control us. Even if the use of temporary severe pain can be justified as restraining measure, which I do not believe it can, the long-term physical and psychological effects are unknown. The research came to light in documents unearthed by the Sunshine Project, an organization based in Texas and in Hamburg, Germany, that exposes biological weapons research. The papers were released under the U.S. Freedom of Information Act. One document, a research contract between the Office of Naval Research and the University of Florida in Gainesville, is entitled Sensory Consequences of Electromagnetic Pulses Emitted by Laser-Induced Plasmas. Pulsed Energy Projectiles, PEPs, which fire a laser pulse that generates a burst of expanding plasma when it hits something solid like a person. The weapon, destined for use in 2007, could literally knock rioters off of their feet. And we've seen pictures of this. Direct energy weapon merchants give young loiterers an earful. That's voice to skull. Direct energy weapon. Missouri lawmaker explores the farthest frontier of science. MPs add non-lethal weapons to arsenal. Non-lethal weapons and capabilities. Non-lethal weapons were science and tech service repression. Now hear this. Pain beam to get tougher. Personal tracking recovery system. Policy for non-lethal weapons. Pot pulse. Preliminary design of free electron laser weapon completed. Psy-war, bio-war. Let's look at that one. This seems to be a chart. A very, very detailed chart. It's in such tiny, you have to blow it way up. It's almost like a microfilm type of thing. You have to blow it way up. Okay. High-tech psychological warfare, 1991. This is almost like a timeline. Let's go back to the top here. Psychological operations, planned operations to convey selected information and indicators to foreign audiences, to influence their emotions, motives, objective reasoning, and ultimately the behavior of foreign governments, organizations, groups, and individuals. The purpose of psychological operations is to induce and reinforce foreign attitudes and behavior favorable to the originator's objectives, also called PSYOP. Apparatus for superimposing visual, subliminal, instructional materials on a video signal. Silent subliminal presentation system. FCC communications. Statement of Dr. John Camp, Assistant to the Deputy Chief, Mass Media Bureau, Federal Communications. The FCC first became concerned with subliminal projection techniques in 1956 after it learned about a New Jersey movie theater which flashed the words "drink Coca-Cola" and "hungry, eat popcorn" every 5 seconds at the subliminal level. In 1973, the issue arose briefly when the FCC received complaints that television stations had broadcast an ad which contained a subliminal message to "get it." High-tech psychological warfare, 1991. High-tech psychological warfare arrives in the Middle East. Describes the U.S. psychological operations tactic directed against Iraqi troops in Kuwait during Operation Desert Storm. The maneuver consisted of a system in which subliminal mind-altering technology was carried on standard radio frequency broadcasts. The Iraqi troops were then forced to use commercial FM radio stations to carry encoded commands, which were broadcast on the 100 megahertz frequency. The U.S. PSYOPs team set up its own portable FM transmitter utilizing the same frequency in the deserted city of Al-Kafi. This U.S. transmitter overpowered the local Iraqi station. Along with patriotic and religious music, PSYOPs transmitted vague, confusing, and contradictory military orders and information. The CIA has infiltrated and utilized religious groups and operations in dozens of countries. Religious sentiments, Christian and otherwise, have been manipulated in many a CIA propaganda operation. Documented examples of such operations abound. To name just a few, in the early 1960s, the agency secretly rallied Catholic leaders in Latin America against Cuba's revolutionary government and used the fish, an ancient sign of Christian resistance, as a symbol for anti-Castro rebellion. In the early 1980s, the Nicaraguan Contras, a CIA-backed rebel group, dropped leaflets bearing the images of Jesus Christ and the Pope along with the messages, exhorting the reader to choose between the church and communism. False Memory Syndrome Foundation. Project Pandora. The first research program into the possible offensive anti-personnel use of non-ionizing microwave radiation. Sci-Tech. During the Gulf War crisis, the Department for Defense asked it to use remote viewing to locate Saddam's Scud missile sites. Remote viewing, they have employed many remote viewers, and yet they tell us all that it's just a bunch of hooey. That psychic ability is just nonsense, when everyone has the ability to read thoughts and remote view, every one of us. We just haven't practiced it. We just brush it off. Mind-machine interaction. Geisen Anomalies Research Program, International Consciousness Research Laboratories, Psi-War, Bio-War. The Disclosure Project, International UFO Congress, Study for this Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Tony and I just read a book by Ingo Swann, who was employed by the military on a regular basis for many years, and he had signed a gag order saying that after he stopped working for them, he would wait 10 years if he wrote anything, and he wrote a book, and it is quite fascinating. I think I will do a video on that. His experiences remote viewing the dark side of the moon, seeing colonies built there, confirmed by the military, Galactic Federation of the Worlds, and there's that Enochian, all the Enochian symbols, that alien language that's all over Stargate movies, all around the portals, that one. I believe that one was, surprise, surprise, I think that one was number 33. Psi-War, Bio-War, that was that one. Do Pulse and Pulse Fit Manual, Pulse and Pulse Fit, Radio Spectrum, Raum and Zeit Interview. Scientists help develop way to control electronic spin. Sound tech turns the way you hear on its ear. Surveic products, synthetic telepathy, the Cyrus Project, thermal laser system fact sheet, towards a nanoscale artificial cortex. Oh God, I don't even want to look at that. 45. That's 15 pages. Challenges of modeling biomimetic neurons in the brain. Fucking aliens. They know how to do this. They know how to do this shit. Where was I? Towards a nanoscale artificial cortex. Silently tortures Americans with cell towers. Tortures silently torture U.S. Oh my God. Here we go, folks. U.S. silently tortures Americans with cell tower microwaves. Now public news coverage. Regional Homeland Security administered fusion centers use a nationwide microwave laser ignite. When was this written? Victims' own cell phones may be used to target them. How a young FBI agent, I believe you, gave victim the faith to go public. President Obama has told the nation and the world that America does not torture. President Obama is wrong. The officials in his administration know it. America tortures, not just Gitmo and Bagram, war on terror, but its own citizens. Most people don't have any idea of what's making them sick and tired. The cover story that these are just cell phone towers amounts to nothing less than a big government lie. It appears that the human's target's own cell phone may serve as the covert targeting device for this attack system. You're paying for your own silent torture. The idea is to make the target look mentally ill or emotionally unstable, so that the person can be shunted into a mental hospital or otherwise marginalized and removed from society. These are crimes against humanity and the Constitution being perpetrated under the cover of national security. This apparently was written right near Obama's term. Just turning off the unit does not suffice, since a cell phone's power can be turned on by remote control. If neither a 3D infrared laser targeting device nor a live cell phone is available, the system still appears capable of delivering painful, disorienting, or even disabling frequencies. It is believed that the government has equipped certain personnel, either its own agents or some victims believe local law enforcement or civilian vigilantes, with portable laser-equipped devices that can paint the target from a distance. Technology used merely for through-the-wall surveillance. The microwave weapon system can engage the target by way of tiny RFID tags covertly placed in or on the target's possessions or clothing. These RFID tags are ubiquitous in everyday commerce, used for inventory tracking of many consumer products, GPS linked. The article discusses a microwave laser weapon system capable of both tracking and engaging a speeding target at the speed of light. U.S. to expand domestic use of spy satellites. Expert 02. So, there you have it. There it is in black and white. You can download these, or you can just browse through it, or you can just know that it exists. Sorry to be the bringer of bad news all the time, but we need to know our enemy and what they're doing. So I'll leave the link for this, and thanks everybody for listening. Talk to you soon.